So Salesforce users are connected to an org in many, many different ways. And it's important to know for compliance and security where users are connected, what kind of powers they have inside the org. But also if you're dealing with inactive users, then it becomes an issue of cleanup and being able to remove some of those connections or replace them with active users. And so all of these issues are really addressed by our new user connection cleanup report. The report lets you select a group of users over here at left and talk about the different connections that they might have to your org over here at right. If you click the Select Users button, you can select users that you want to work with. They can be of different type, they can be active or inactive, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can select them. And you can just move them over here into the list at right to work with them. Over here on the right is the list of different connections that are available. So user permissions are things like permission set groups and permission sets that connect the user to your org. There's data connections, things like users that are delegated approvers or have a package license, group members, part of the role hierarchy. There's a whole bunch of metadata links, and the metadata links show a lot of different ways that the user can be connected to the org and have various powers, whether they're active or inactive. It's not just the user name and user ID that's connected to your org. Users also have raw email addresses in various other metadata assets, and those are also a problem if a user becomes deactivated. And lastly, users can be team members on various different things. For example, on open opportunities, you might want to remove any users that you're going to deactivate. So for our demo today, let's just check all of these options. And let's look at this user here, person 5, and we can preview the report. And as you can see, there's various things that he's connected to, and these are marked as problems because he's inactive. So he's an inactive user who's actually the running user for one of these dashboards or analytic snapshots or so forth. And so, or he's a member of a queue or various things. And so you can choose which of these things you think are a problem. And of course, as usual, you can connect multiple users and go generate the display report. And so the display report will show all the various problems in your org because of inactive users, or you might just want to look at the connections that an active user currently has in your org. And then lastly, of course, you can always schedule the report. When there's a new snapshot, send a PDF of the report in mail, and you can choose to do it if there's minor or major problems reported, or if there's major problems reported. All right, so let me show you something else you can do. So when you've got some selected users over here, you can right-click them, and you can edit them or clone them, and you can also edit multiple users. So editing is useful for deactivating users or changing their information. Cloning lets you clone a selected user along with their permission sets, their groups, their licenses, their group memberships, and queue memberships if you want. And lastly, you can edit multiple users. And so you can select all the users that you're interested in, and you can make them active, inactive, or freeze them, whatever you want to do. So that's useful for decommissioning a bunch of users at the same time. All right, now we haven't looked yet at these two tabs here, User Cleanup and Owner Cleanup. Now what User Cleanup does is it lets you select a group of users and clean up all of their connections to the org. Now one of the issues is you're going to have to select a replacement user, and the replacement user is used to replace the username and the user email in some cases from the users that you're cleaning up. And if you want to know what this is going to do, you can use your tooltips here and look at all the different operations it's going to take on. And you can also do a test run. So you can either test the cleanup only, or stop after there's an error, or continue after there's an error. So let's try a test run and click the User Cleanup button. And just like that, this thing will show you all of the different operations it will do if you set it to a real run, and it'll really provide comprehensive cleanup for your inactive users, and you might also want to clean up active users under some situations, but I think the most common use case will be to clean up inactive users. And so that's what this tab does for user cleanup. There's also owner cleanup. And what owner cleanup will do is it will remove users as the owner ID of any of the objects in your org. So for example, you might look at opportunities and say, you know, all of the open opportunities, we want to remove person 5 and replace them with person 1. And then just like that, you can click owner cleanup, and it also has a test run and the ability to do an actual run, so you can see what's going to happen before you do it. All right, that's a quick look at the user connection cleanup report. It's really the first time ever in Salesforce that there's a comprehensive way to clean up inactive users and to report on all the connections for your active users.